Hello guys, it's Julia from Kathleen Cosplay here. In today's video I'm gonna show you how I made this katana and sheath. I started tracing what will be my cable in a 5mm EVA foam. I cut 4 of them, this way my cable will be more thick. Then I traced the flower who will be between the cable and the blade in a 5mm EVA foam, and the details in a 2mm EVA foam. Then I trace the blade in a 5mm EVA foam, cutting the tip in an angle. This way, when I glue the pieces together, they will look sharp. After that, I glue the pieces for the cable, making the 4 pieces become 2, and glue the details on the flower. To support the blade, I use an aluminum rod. Pick up the blade and the cable and mark where the support will be placed. Then I start carving in the marks. After that, I pick up the flower and make a hole where the support will pass. Before glue, I took the cable and cut the edges. Then I sand with a sandpaper to let more rounded. When I was satisfied, I glued all the pieces together. Now it looks like a katana, but some details are still missing. I traced some strips in a 2mm EVA foam and glued them on the top of the cable and the base of the cable. Now that the base of the katana is ready, I move to the sheath. I trace the base to the sheath in a 5mm EVA foam. Then in a 5mm EVA foam, I cut a strip 2 cm high, long enough to go around the sheath base, but leaving a hole. After cutting, I glued some pieces with contact glue. Before gluing the top of the sheath, I put some fabric inside to make sure the paint of the blade won't wear out. I chose felt to put inside and glue with silicone glue, which was what I had at the time, but hot glue would work well too. Then I glued the top of the sheath. As I made with the cable, I cut the edges and sand to make it rounded. When I finally stopped sanding, I traced all the details of the sheath in a 2mm EVA foam and glue it on the base. Then the base of the sheath is ready. I add some acrylic plaster on the katana and the sheath to cover some imperfections. To make the symbols on the sides of the blade, I drew them by hand and used a pyrograph to give depth to the symbols. After that, I started with the primer. I used a different primer for the katana and the sheath, because I primed the katana months before I primed the sheath. I recommend you to use white glue with a little bit of water. I passed 4 layers, letting them dry in between. Then I started painting the blade with dark metal paint. And for the sharp parts, I used light metal paint that I also used to make the symbols more visible. For the middle of the flower, I used turquoise paint. And for the cable and the details, I used bronze metal paint. And to finish the paint, I add a layer of acrylic varnish. So, to finish the katana, I pick up a satin ribbon and made the ornament on the cable. You just need to twist the ribbon to the top like I did. Glue it on the top and then twist the ribbon until the beginning. And glue it again. I also tied a knot at the end to make sure it stays in place. And then the katana is ready. To finish the sheath, I paint the base with white paint and the details with gold metal paint. After 2 layers of gold, I add a layer of acrylic varnish. And then the sheath is ready. I hope this video was useful for you. If you used my patterns or tutorial, tag me on social media. I want to see what you did. So, see you in the next video. Bye!